Sky Signs of the Coming of the Lord Jesus. Chapter 3. Lord Jesus' Coming Sky Signs. Like the birth of the Lord Jesus mentioned earlier, which was marked by the appearance of a star in the east, the second coming of the Lord Jesus will also be marked by the following natural phenomena. The sun will be turned to darkness and the moon to blood before the coming of the great and glorious day of the Lord. Acts chapter 2, verse 20. So the first explains that before the second coming of the Lord Jesus, there will be some natural phenomena, among which the sun will be turned to darkness, or solar eclipse, and the moon to blood, or total lunar eclipse. The solar eclipse and the lunar eclipse, which will take place before the coming of the Lord Jesus, were also depicted when the sixth seal was opened in the book of Revelation. I watched as he opened the sixth seal. There was a great earthquake. The sun turned black like sackcloth made of goat hair. The whole moon turned blood red. Revelation chapter 6, verse 12. In the first book of the author, is it true that the chips is the fulfillment of 666? It was explained that the rapture of the church, the believers, occurred when the sixth seal was opened. The first also mentioned that before the second coming of the Lord Jesus or the rapture, there would be some natural phenomena such as the sun turned black like sackcloth made of goat hair, the whole moon turned blood red. A pastor named Mark Bilge saw the picture. When he saw the moon in that picture, he remembered that the moon as red as blood was a sign before the second coming of the Lord Jesus, as it has been explained earlier. As he made a further study, he discovered a quite surprising natural phenomena that both in the year 2014 and 2015, the total lunar eclipse would occur at the commemoration of the Passover and the Feast of Tabernacles. Both in the year 2014 and 2015, thus the total lunar eclipse or tetra would occur at the time of those fall festive days. This picture shows the total lunar eclipse or tetra at the time of the celebration of Passover and the Feast of Tabernacles in the years 2014 and 2015. Pastor Mark Bilge continued his research to find out how often the total lunar eclipse or tetra would occur at Passover and at the Feast of Tabernacles. Both took place in the same years and repeated in the subsequent year. Actually, the same phenomena was not found anymore until the end of this century or until the year 2100. When the research was made to detect the same phenomena in earlier times, it was discovered that the same phenomena had occurred in the years 1949 until 1950, 1967 until 1968, and 1493 until 1494. In those years, some important events took place. 1949, the Israel Declaration of Independence was made on 14 May 1948, and Israel became a member of the United Nations on 11 May 1949. 1967, the people of Israel gained back East Jerusalem as the result of the Six-Day War on June 7, 1967. 1493, after discovering America, Columbus made the second voyage with 17 ships and over 1,000 men in 1493. Columbus' second voyage marked the start of colonialism in the New World, and many of those who sailed with him went on to play very important roles in the history of the New World. These first colonies became the root of America today. Further research found that two solar eclipses would happen in the year 2015, linked with the national festival of the Israelites. The first would be the total solar eclipse on the first day of Nisan, or the beginning of the Jewish calendars, and another would be a partial solar eclipse on the first day of Tishri or at the Feast of Trumpet. At the beginning, it was explained that God created the sun and the moon not only as objects to indicate the days and the years, but also as objects to indicate the great festivals. And God said, "Let there be light in the expanse of the sky to separate the day from the night, and let them serve as sign to mark season and day and years." Genesis chapter 1 verse 14. The pictures of the total lunar eclipses or tetra and the total solar eclipses that will occur at the Israel's festival in the year 2014 and 2015. Since the eclipses would occur at the celebration of the Passover, Feast of Tabernacles and Feast of Trumpet, which were believed to be the festive days on which the second coming of the Lord Jesus would be fulfilled. Most likely, there would be occurrence beyond man's expectation regarding the end time. Or some end times even would happen on those festive days, coincide with the occurrence of these natural phenomena. What kind of event could happen related to this natural phenomena or sign in the sky? If we pay attention to the events that had happened before, linked with the phenomena of total lunar eclipse or tetra on the very day of the celebration of Passover and the Feast of Tabernacles. For 2 years subsequently, there seems to be some similarities. The three events occurred in the earlier years of 1949, 1967, and 1493. Those three events were linked with the fulfillment of the end times, namely, On May 11, 1949, the State of Israel was legally established. The Lord Jesus said in Matthew chapter 24, "Now learn this lesson from the fig tree. As soon as its twigs get tender and its leaves come out, you know that summer is near. Even so, when you see all these things, you know that it is near, right at the door. I tell you the truth, this generation will certainly not pass away until all these things have happened." Matthew chapter 24, verse 32 until 34. Verse 32 explains, "As soon as the leaf of the fig tree comes out," which can be interpreted, if the state of Israel is established, then the summer is near, which can be interpreted, the fulfillment of summer festivals is near. And continue with, "I tell you the truth, this generation will certainly not pass away until all these things have happened." Verse 34. And this can mean that the contemporary generation or the people who live in Israel at the time the state of Israel was established would not all pass away until the second comings of the Lord Jesus. When the state of Israel got her independence, surely there were also infants or children in the Israel's families. Thus, this verse explains that some of those infants and children will be still alive when the Lord Jesus returns. Since the state of Israel was legally established in 1949, those infants or children will be about 65 to 70 years old by that particular times. Referring to Psalm 90, the length of our days is 70 years or 80. If we have the strength, yet their span is but trouble and sorrow, but they quickly pass and we fly away. Psalm chapter 90 verse 10. So, based on the interpretation of this verse, The second coming of the Lord Jesus would be no longer than 10 to 15 years from now, or even sooner. 1967. The people of Israel gained back East Jerusalem on June 7, 1967 in the Six Days War. Why is East Jerusalem so important? Because in East Jerusalem there is a place believed to be the location of the Temple of God. On the other hand, East Jerusalem is the land promised by God to the Israelites. Many ministries believe that the rapture of the church, the believer, should happen in the year of the Jubilee. If the rapture occurs in the year of Jubilee, what method can we use to count the years? How can the initial year to the year of Jubilee be determined? The book of Leviticus states that the Lord said to Moses on Mount Sinai, "Speak to the Israelites and say to them, when you enter the land I am going to give you, the land itself must observe a Sabbath to the Lord." Leviticus chapter 25 verse 1 until 2. So the Sabbath as well as the Jubilee began when the Israelites entered the land given by the Lord, and this land was particularly East Jerusalem, the site of the Temple of God. If we count 49 years from June 7, 1967, the day the Israelites regained East Jerusalem, then add 49 times 360 days, it will point to September 23, 2015, exactly on the day of Atonement or Yom Kippur. 1493. In this year, Columbus' second voyage marked the start of colonialism in the continent of America, and as it has been described in the book Is It True That the Chips is the fulfillment of 666? America is the fifth world power, or the last one, as prophesied in the book of Daniel through Nebuchadnezzar's dreams. The Blood Red Moon 2014 until 2015. What events may occur which are linked with the sign in the sky? The lunar eclipse at Passover and at the Feast of Tabernacles in 2014 until 2015. When the pattern is similar to the previous events which took place in the earlier year. Is it possible that there will also an event link with the end times in 2014? What kind of event might happen then? One possibility is the reconstruction of the Temple of God in Jerusalem, which has to happen first before the second coming of the Lord Jesus as described in the following verses. So when you see standing in the holy place the abomination that causes desolation, spoken of through the prophet Daniel, let the reader understand. Matthew chapter 24 verse 15. I was given the reed like a measuring rod and was told, "Go and measure the temple of God and the altar, and count the worshippers there." Revelation chapter 11 verse 1.